In a world of limitless opportunities and countless challenges, the choices we make manifest themselves into the very roads that guide us. And the tribulations and triumphs that shape, weather, and bind these paths together are the very essence of what makes the world such a beautifully strange place. But we walk our path with no map, in search of answers that nobody has, simply hoping that we don't get lost along the way. So maybe just sharing our story of where we come from and the things that have guided us along the way can be enough to guide those lost in their own path.
I'm Zach Bonanza, and this is the Lost Guidance Podcast.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hello, how's everyone doing? That was a hell of a way to start. Welcome to the first solo edition of the Lost Guidance Podcast. I'm Zach Bonanza, and basically wanted to take a little bit of time out because I've had a lot of questions coming in. Basically, people, and I'm sorry again, I'm really hoarse. Anybody who knows me knows I'm hoarse all the time, but this is abnormal. Yeah, like I was saying, I just wanted to take some time out. I've had people giving me, like I said, just continuous amounts of support and encouragement. But along the way, I've had plenty of questions. People saying, what made you want to do a podcast? What's it like? Aren't you worried about X, Y, or Z? And what equipment are you using? I've had people actually reaching out, curious about even possibly starting their own. So I kind of wanted to just take a second. I am live, so if anybody wants to chime in, if anybody does chime in, that'd be awesome. So yeah, basically, let's start here. Why did I want to do a podcast? Because I wanted to. It's because I wanted to. And that's about it. I mean, in today's day and age, people are just so overwhelmingly swamped with this just mindless garbage and bad media content. I can't tell you how many times I've logged on and saw something I just unsavory and I don't want to see. Whether it's just something disgusting or just a debate about something ridiculous or just, people just hurting themselves like sheep into these pointless debates and stuff. There's all this bad content out there and it's flooding people's minds. It's all you're seeing. And I feel like a good way to counteract bad exposure is good exposure. And, you could always make the argument, leave it to the people who want to do it, but the people who want to do it are the people who do it. So that's really the message here is that I feel there's something strong and defining and uniting amongst people when we just tell stories. And that's something that's archaic in us. It's evolution almost. From the time we could create words and sounds till now, we've been building stories and living life and sharing those stories, and they've given cultural significance, social exaggeration, I guess. But words and stories are so capable of doing so much, and equally in a bad way as they are a good way. So, like I said, I just one day realized, maybe about a year or two ago, after I've been watching a lot of podcasts, and Joe Rogan, people who come on are like, oh, you're kind of like, or watch it, are like, you're kind of like Joe Rogan. Well, he's a huge influence of mine. I love the show. I love the idea of just having people on to discuss what thrives them and what they contribute to the world. And so that's what I wanted to bring into kind of a local area, So like I said, a few years back, I was watching podcasts and I don't know, I got it into my head that I feel like maybe I could do this. And I'm sure people who are watching this can attest. I feel like I've been given two good gifts in life. One of them more obvious than the other, and that's the gift of gab. I could probably sell ice to an Eskimo, or the old saying, catch up to a woman in white gloves. So, but I've also been given empathy, and I don't know if those are both internal traits or if there's things that I've learned along the way and just kind of been sharpening and becoming more self-aware of. But I'm able to look at a situation. Now, granted, if I see my buddy fall down, am I going to laugh? Yes. But am I going to feel bad? Yes. It's the same token. So I think having the ability to recognize a situation and look at something from somebody else's perspective and really just kind of internalize what they're saying and saying, hey, what if this was me? What if I was going through that? How would I feel? I think that's a huge skill set. And then to furthermore elaborate or converse on that topic, and a lot of people are faced with a hard conversation or something, and they shut down and they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or yada yada. And I try to do a little bit more than that, go the next level, and say, "Wow, that must be really rough for you. Tell me what that's like. I can imagine what it would be like if I were in your situation," or at least try to. Obviously, not all situations can be applied to like that, but the ability to really just kind of communicate with people and talk and openly talk and have a nice conversation, and the ability to recognize situations, empathize with those situations. Those are two great skill sets that I think a lot of podcasters, a lot of media celebrities, a lot of politicians, a lot of people who do well and are affluent. I think that those are, not saying that I'm trying to be egotistical by any means. I just think they're traits that people need to be cognizant of, and you need to be self-aware. And that's another trait. You need to be aware of who you are and your flaws and in your skill set. You need to be able to look at the situation and say, I am good at this, but I'm not good at this. And am I going to get better at this, or am I going to get worse at this? And sometimes it's a little bit scary to do that self-realization. It's a little bit, makes you you feel a little timid coming into a situation where you're like, man, let me really tell myself what I need work on. And I've been there, and it's hard. I used to have a terrible anger problem. And, even just last week on St. Paddy's Day, seeing somebody who I was otherwise mean to in a past life and haven't seen in a long time, and for her to come up and say, you're so nice. Like, it's so good to see you doing well. Those are things that I take pride in, because I have come a long way, and we each need to do those self-realizations, these zones of assessment, and say, man, these are the areas I need to work on. So I think in working on myself and bettering myself, bettering my bad flaws, I also sharpen my good ones. And like I said, the gift of gab, empathy, these are some really universal and helpful traits that also applied podcasting. And so when I was watching these podcasts a few years back, I was just feeling like, man, I want to sit down with this kind of guy. I want to talk to him about his life, and I want to be able to relate to him and all this. So I went out, I bought a microphone, probably this one right here or that one right there, the same thing. Got a mic stand, and a friend of mine at the time, just, supporting the idea, mother always supporting the idea. Cheers, by the way, to everybody getting off a rough Monday. And, I had some support, but it was kind of like I was a little bit of a perfectionist, and I wanted it to sound great. And I was first only going to do this on Audacity and just kind of do audio recordings and put them up on Spotify or whatever, because that's the media platform that I was listening to. Spotify, Stitcher, which is a really good podcasting app for people who like podcasts. It's awesome. But then I said, you know what? Let me take a little bit of a break from this. I don't even know what I wanted to do yet. So I get thinking, a few weeks goes by, and I come up with the name Lost Guidance. I'm like, I wanted something original that also, like, it wasn't taken, but also meant something significant, and it made you think, oh, what's that name? So Lost Guidance. How are you lost giving guidance? But I think that's everybody. I felt that was such an applicable name to the world, to my situation, to other people's situations. It's like looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I know I'm lost, but I have something to offer other people. It's not for everybody. I 100% recognize the fact not everybody wants to listen to me. Some of you probably already shut this off. But that's okay. That's life. And some people will get something out of this. Just like even the few guests I've had on and the guests I'm going to have going forward, they offer something that I hope to get things out of, like Billy Howard, a real motivational guy in terms of just wanting everyone to be happy. Jimmy Wilson, free-going guy. Matt Lewis, determined as hell, get back on the bike. Greg and John Sowith, letting sports become more than just a hobby and something really affluent in their life. So these are guys giving me messages, and that's the whole point. And I recognize that if I'm getting a little bit of something out of this, maybe someone tunes in somewhere in freaking southern Pennsylvania, I don't know, and sees 10 minutes of one of my episodes and says, wow, that was a kind of insightful line, or wow, I can relate to that right now. This is a bad day for me. I had a rough Monday and my day sucked, but these guys, man, harping on the idea to just be happy. So I recognize that if I'm getting good things out of these messages, then other people will too. And that's, again, it goes back to just the uniformity and the cohesion and the interdigitation of storytelling and human nature, and our ability to tell and relate to and get something emotional, spiritual, whatever, inspirational out of a story that's as old as time. So that's a little bit of why I wanted to do it. And so when I came up with the name Lost Guidance, I really thought it had embodied all of that. I thought it was just like perfect. You know, it's like the blind leading the blind, and what a true statement that is in today's day and age, because realistically, nobody has the map, the manual, the answer key. We're all just blindly leading it out here. And hopefully, you know, at least a few times a day, you're getting suggestions from other people, and those guide your answers and your actions that day a little bit more, and yada, yada, yada. It goes on the line, and each person helps somebody in just a sliver of a way shape and mold you into the person you are, into the path that you're walking that day, that week, that month, that year. All of it is very consequential. You know, just even talking to each other. I can't even tell you how many things that I have heard that, you know, just think of the last time somebody said something to you that really woke you the fuck up. And that's what this is about. So Lost Guidance, I thought that was a perfect name for it. And so I was like, all right, let me go with the Lost Guidance theme. So, and then I'm not a drawer at all, but I spent maybe 2 full days just with a sketch pad and some charcoal that I had ordered on Amazon, like a $20 kit. And I must have spent, probably 2, maybe even 2.5, 3 days, just drawing, like any free moment I had, just trying to draw out that cover art in my own chintzy way. And, you know, I knew I wanted it to be focused. I didn't want it to come off as a spiritual podcast or anything. Lost Guidance, you know, guidance is kind of a heavy word sometimes, but I wanted it to be understood what we're talking about, and that's everything. So I was thinking, man, I want to do music and movie episodes, people who are in the industries. So I drew the L, and I was like, man, that'd be perfect. A little film reel with the guitar. And then I was like, man, but I love space and science and Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I've been reading his book at work, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. So I was like, let me throw a little space in there. Oh, Saturn's perfect. Most recognizable planet, I'd say. And then, you know, like a winding road or a river, I couldn't decide. And then like a tree of life, because I love nature and all that. I do as much hiking as I can. And so all of these things that have otherwise influenced my life, you're seeing poured right into the cover art, which I'll shout it out again. Carly Wright, thank you so much for some great work. Stellar. I mean, I've had nothing but fantastic compliments on it. And so, you know, I had a little bit of a doodle for a name, and I was like, you know, it'd be cool if I was standing on the earth just having a beer. So that, as you can see, it came to be. And so the idea of the name, the idea of the show, the cover art, it all started to piece together. And then I'm like, man, maybe this will happen. And then I took a break and came back to it maybe about a few months ago, when I had a coworker of mine who also runs his own podcast. He came up to me and said, man, if you have a dream like that, you've got to go for it. And I was like, wow, you know, you're right. So he came over and spent some time, and we just really pieced together, worked out all the crinkles. And I learned to get over that perfectionism, because as you can tell, it sounds pretty good, baby. It sounds good. It looks good. And I made sure I took the proper channels and the proper steps. And one of those is getting good equipment. And so I got good equipment, and then I had some good guidance from a friend, and he helped me to get me on my own YouTube channel and all these different buttons you can click along the way that kind of guide you throughout my profiles on Facebook and Twitch. And so really opened up the doors for me. So, you know, I totally took to heart the fact that he said, you got to go for it. And for a while, it was just stewing in me like, man, I really want to do this podcast idea. But who would I get on? Where would I do it? And then I stopped making excuses. Then I said, you know what? Do it. You fucking want to do it? Do it. I can't tell you how many times in my life I wanted to do something and bailed. And in the past few years, I've been trying so hard to really rescind that mindset and just kind of put my feet on the ground and do these things, So this was the epitome of that. And so I said, you know what? Here's what I'll do. Sell whatever garbage nonsense I had left in this room that I'm sitting in, and sold it at a yard sale, scrapped the rest, condensed it all, cleaned out the room, put up, I had these beer signs I had acquired maybe like a year ago. This mini fridge I got on Facebook garage sale, and I had all these things laying around, little bits and pieces, and I said, let me put together a studio. It doesn't have to be magnificent. It's the fact that I'm starting and I'm taking those initial steps and following what I love. That's what matters. So I did it, and it was really, if I think about it, going back to what I was just saying, it was the words of another person who changed my mindset enough to, you're looking at it, Lost Guidance Podcast. And it's doing well. It's doing great. I've had nothing but fantastic support, as I keep saying time and time again. I do hope to get more people on the Twitch channel because I think it's a great media platform, great avenue. I know people will look at it and it's predominantly for gaming right now. But local radio stations, 94.9 K-Rock, it uses Twitch. You can live stream into their show. So it's a huge market coming up. So that I really think it's another good media platform to be into. So I'm giving it a shot. But other than that, I think other than people not knowing what Twitch is, I have not heard a single bad thing or downfall or anything. And obviously I know it's not perfect. I have room to grow, and I hope to get constructive criticism along the way. Absolutely. But just tremendous amounts of people supporting the idea that I'm doing what I love. I'm doing my hobby. Even if your hobby is just getting together with people and talking. So I'm really looking forward to the next few chapters and seeing where this podcast takes me and who it introduces me to and the things that I learn along the way. And like the intro says, that I put together there, we're all just kind of wandering, lost with no map and directions. So there's no telling where it's going to end up. So I got this nice studio, spare bedroom, I guess. And I said, screw it. Let me get the right equipment. Let me make it look as legitimate as I possibly can. And so I worked really hard days, doing these things and learning and researching my equipment and what to get best. And I think I've come up with a pretty good amalgamation of products. So for people who were wondering what I use, figured we'd go through them quick. So if you look, let me see if I can tilt this down a little without messing it right up. Ow! Okay. If you look right here, this is my CAD Audio. CAD is also the company that makes my headsets. These are really nice quality, especially if you're just getting started. I think maybe like 100 bones or something. The thing that's nice about these is if you're just using normal headphones, especially with like recording or editing or talking and trying to hear yourself and stuff, you don't want to use just cheap iPhone earbuds or something. I mean, they work, but you're not getting the proper range of sounds. And so what you want to look for is the impedance level amongst headsets. And so I think it's 25. I think it's 25 to 75 is the range in which like a DJ's headphones usually land. 75 obviously being the highest, and that's measured in ohms. So these I believe were 36 ohms. They're a good quality, and the guests who have been on, I'm sure will attest. You can hear yourself very well. It helps with editing. I edit all the intros, all that music and everything. I've done it all myself. I'll explain how in a minute. But like I said, really getting under the fine-tuned details, hearing a little bit of after noise in your room while you're recording, stuff like that. Good to have a nice set of headphones. Those headphones are plugged into my, like I was saying, CAD Audio 4. This is just a stereo headphone amplifier. This is just so me and my up to 4 guests can dial in exactly how loud we want to be able to hear each other. And obviously, I talk a little bit louder than some people. Again, I'm sure as some of you want to attest, you're probably screaming it at the freaking thing right now. But yeah, so it's really nice. I think it's always good to stick product to product. They always say, don't you use like I don't know, like Sony bass with the Sony speakers or something like that, just for an example. So I went with CAD amplifier for my headphones. And it's really nice. Like I said, you can have 4 splits in here, dial in your sound however much you like it. Underneath that is my audio interface. So this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It means it's got 2 ports. These are XLR and normal. I could stick a normal audio jack, like for a guitar, right into my audio interface. You can control the gain levels. Let's see if I can dial this in here. I can't move it too much without messing up. But as you see that thing turning green, that's my gain levels. It's kind of like a illuminated indicator letting me know that I'm recording. If that were to get... Sorry, I shouldn't have yelled. If I were to yell too loud, though, it breaks red, and that's good for having like a guest, especially I try to keep this thing down below and not pay attention to it too much. So if I just catch a little glimpse of something out of my eye, I know to dial it down if he's yelling or something. Not that anybody's yelled, but just hypothetically. You can also plug into the back of this 2 studio quality monitors. They got the ports right here. By that I mean speakers. I couldn't think of the word speakers. What the hell? Listen, I'm totaled. All right, this day was long. Tomorrow's gonna be longer, but anyway. So I got my audio interface. You can put 2 speakers out of the back. Again, this is a really quality interface, especially for someone starting out. I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting any equipment that I would almost instantaneously want to rescind or return and upgrade. So I made sure that I got like mid to high level equipment to start off, because you want to make your first punch good. And I think I was able to achieve that. And this stuff really helped. Excuse me. This also has the ability to direct monitor. So say this microphone needed a power source, you can do it. Plug this right into your computer, which is how it feeds your audio into your computer. It basically acts like a collection, for layman's terms, and it collects your sound and processes it into your computer as the proper signal. So you can directly supply power up to 48 volts. You can also adjust your headphones on this, so I can make this significantly louder, but I shouldn't have messed with that. And so I just have my headphone amp feeding right into my audio interface, feeding right into my computer. Bada bing. That's all you really need. Then for a camera, I can't spin myself back onto you. I'm using the Pro Series wide angle lens Logitech, which I kind of needed because you can't really tell by the size of the room. It looks probably a little bit larger than it actually is, but this room's a little bit smaller. So I wanted something with the wide angle. And I think this is approximately a 90-degree width fitting angle. So, I mean, as you can see a good amount behind me. Other lenses are a little bit more narrow. So I wanted to, like I said, I wanted it to be a really good, clear picture. It's 1080p HD. So just a suggestion. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of money to invest in stuff like this, especially if you don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll have to give this up in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Who knows? Maybe it won't work out, but maybe it will. Maybe it will pan out in my freaking dreams and everything will come true. But for now, what I'm doing is enjoying it. And I wanted to enjoy it. And the best way to enjoy something is doing your best. I have a good friend of mine, Steve Parts. You're out there. He got a Taylor guitar, and he just told me, like, he was kind of explaining the differences amongst his guitars. And when you have a really poor quality instrument or just like a beginner's instrument, you work hard to make it sound good. You work that much harder to even appreciate what you're doing, because it doesn't seem as producing of results, I guess, for lack of a better word. I've been really tongue-tied lately over my words. So when he upgraded to this Taylor guitar, it meant the world to him, because even he had showed me, like, you can just barely touch it and it wants to make a noise, you know? And so I think that's very similar to the situation of going all out on anything. You want to give yourself the proper tools, if you can, to do well. If you're really serious about jumping all in, you want the proper tools to do well, because it'll make you feel like you're doing better. It'll make you feel like you're getting more out of that, whatever it is, hobby, sport, situation. You don't want to go into football practice and have tennis shoes on and, your brother's pads that are 100 sizes too big. Or you don't want to go into a band with a poor instrument. You don't want to start a podcast or even any really recording equipment without proper gear. So that's kind of my mindset. And excuse me. And for mics, I'm just using 2 Shure SM58s. These are pretty much the industry standard as far as everybody's told me. People who do music, you love using these for concert venues. People who do recording say they love them for that. I personally think it comes out really fine, and pretty sturdy mic overall. And so no complaints there as well. So like I said, give yourself the proper tools. If you're feeling like you're on the brink of wanting to do something or start something, but you're just, stay in a weekend, okay? It's not going to kill you. Especially, people of mine who are 20s and 30 years old. It's not going to kill you to not be around the same people you've been around your whole entire life for one extra day or two. Save the money, pocket it, shut the phone off if you got to, and know that you're saving for a better tomorrow, a better future. It doesn't even need to be like a retirement. I don't mean that. Obviously, I mean that you should do those things. Get yourself 401k, invest, do what you can. But what I'm saying is, give yourself the ability to do what you love, or you're always going to have, like I was talking to Billy, that cognitive dissonance. If you're always wanting to do something, but you're doing something else, if you've always wanted to, man, I really want to get out of work and go to that new gym, or I really want to, learn a new instrument or a new language, do it. Take the time. Give yourself the proper tools. And one of the proper tools is time. You got to be able to sit down, look yourself in the mirror, or just say out loud to yourself, I really need to control myself. I need to be able to say no to these situations. I don't need to pick up for X if he calls me, or I don't need to answer Y's text message. I'm going to spend the weekend doing me, work on a couple things I've been wanting to do. Maybe, if you wanted to learn an instrument or a language, start watching some YouTube videos, get a little bit into it. Doesn't mean you have to be a hermit, but it means you got to try. You can't just go through your whole life saying, well, I wanted to do that, but I never got around to it, because you will have nothing but regret, self-contempt. You'll have all these poor feelings towards yourself and possibly even other people as you age later in life. And there's nothing worse than looking back and being unhappy. And so I think now is the time, if ever a time, to get out there and do what you love and do what you want to do, because that's what life is. And if anybody's going to get anything out of my words today, I hope it's exactly that. It's that give yourself the proper tools, do what you want to do because you want to. And that should be it, So don't listen to naysayers. Don't think you're out of it or you have a disadvantage. Do your best. Try. Give yourself those tools, whether it's time, whether it's a decent pair of shoes. Maybe it's just give yourself a better mindset. Go take a walk. Meditate. Put yourself in a better headspace. Give yourself a good foundation, those good tools to really get out there, get after what you want to do. Because life's short, man. And I don't want to be looking back when I'm 50 and I have a bad back and saying, man, I wish I did more, I don't know, soccer. I don't even play soccer, but maybe I will one day. But for now, I'm getting out there, and I get it. It's hard to adhere to a strict schedule, especially something new. It's easy to want to relax, but you can't. You got to really fight that kind of internal desire and let that drive for wanting to do something else come out of you. And once you let something take hold of your life that you really love and are really passionate about, it's easy. It becomes an enjoyment, Initial steps are always scary, whether it's a job or anything that you're doing. That initial breaking through to the other side is always difficult, but it's going to be so worth it, whether it is getting back to the gym or whatever. I keep making examples, but I'm just trying to nail that hammer into the coffin for you people. Like, people, again, those who ask me, why did I want to do a podcast? Because I wanted to. And because I feel maybe 1,000 people won't watch this. Maybe 400 will. And if those 400 people, maybe there's 20 people in it who watch the whole thing. And maybe in those 20 people, there's one person who gets something out of that. And he says, wow, that meant something to me. That made my day a little bit better or a little bit different. And that if I'm able to do that even one time, then I've won and I've achieved what I wanted this podcast to become. A help, a guiding force, something that I do that I love, that other people also enjoy, and love and learn to, or grow to rather, enjoy it and watch it. So keep on the right path. I have faith that we all can do it. It's getting a little bit dry in the mouth here. I didn't want to make this too long. I'll see if anybody chimed in on Twitch. And again, thank you time and time again for everybody who is out and supporting me. Everybody who's liking it, sharing it. Everybody who's saying nothing but fantastically good things about it. Thank you so much. And I'm all for it. Please spread the word. I hope that in my upcoming guests, each of you finds a little bit of a sliver of that episode that sticks with you. And I hope everybody gets a little bit of something out of that, whether it's just enjoyment and happiness, a laugh, an insight, new revelation, whatever it may be. I hope somebody gets something out of each episode or maybe a episode. And that's really what the underlying theme and the message that I want to bring home here is. Like I said, I didn't want to make this too long. I didn't see anybody chiming in, which is fine. We'll get you here. It's all good, baby. And so, just stay focused, people. And so coming up this Wednesday, I'm going to have a good buddy of mine, Dave Loopy. We'll be talking about his different hobbies. He was in a band. He's a avid hunter, sports shooter. Hopefully we'll be talking a little bit about a pretty awesome show that I've had a lot of people get into. I'm sure you know which one it is. It's on Netflix. And just like the whole underlying theme of subsistence hunting, competition shooting, which would be cool for people who are into, gun enthusiasts for the sport and stuff like that. And then Sunday, I'll be having on a friend of mine who is a local Utica Rome multi-time winner. Again, I'm not going to drop these names, but I think you know who it is. And so that is just a few of the many awesome guests I have lined up. I have local business owners, local musicians, various band members. Oh, which reminds me, I want to bring up, I was just at Ithaca. It's called the Ithaca Thaw Festival, right? So you get, there's like 2 bars on the north side of town, 2 on the south side of town, and they do each venue does like concerts, basically local, mostly Rochesterian bands. And so you can go to these 2 and then take the shuttle and go to those 2 and then kind of all loops all day. And so I went there with some friends and it was fantastic. We rented an Airbnb right on the lake. It's just gorgeous. They had a sweet little bed that was shaped like a boat for like a 12-year-old. And you bet I slept in that. Oh, yeah. Yep. Feet dangling right on the bow. Do you know what I mean? It was awesome, though. We went to these venues and just speaking to the power of music and how that in itself is so telling of a story and so emotional. I saw this band called the Swamp Kids, and I hope to get in touch with them, honestly, and get some more of their stuff because I only see about 2 videos on YouTube, a few on Facebook. This guy, I'm sitting in this bar. It's like an upstairs bar. You go into like a little mini mall, freaking... Looks like you're going into a Colosse's. You remember those? Knick-knack, paddywhacks all over. It's like a Hallmark store. Kind of looks like that, but enormous. But anyway, you veer right. You go up these little side stairs. Now you're like in a grunge rock hallway kind of looking thing. And this band's getting done, and they had a brass section, which is cool. And I heard like maybe one song. And this other band gets up. And I'm telling you, when I say one note did me in, one note did me in. This guy, such a soulful, really, look at the Swamp Kids. They have one video. There's the black gentleman on drums. He has just got the most beautiful voice in terms of just like a jazzy, funky. It's amazing. I can't support them enough. As with many bands. Lawrence, another really great band. This female singer of theirs, she's just got this crazy, like, bubbly, sassy, schoolgirlish kind of punk rock sound, and it's really good, man. A lot of great bands, and so I love talking to and hearing local music, and so that's one of the big reasons I've been reaching out, trying to have some local talent and musicians and band members come on, because I think you can't support that stuff enough. And it comes with any dreams, hobby, local business, or whatever. I love showing support in any way I can. And so, and I think that's reciprocated. What you give, you get out tenfold, right? Billy Howard was saying that on episode 6. And what a true and still carrying on sentiment, and a good one to end on, I suppose. So, as you know, play the old funky bass tunes as we roll out here. Oh, man. Just a quick little episode, just a little, just didn't want to leave y'all hanging for too long, missing these gorgeous baby blues. Probably can't see. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you, if anybody has any more questions about the equipment I use or whatever, just reach out. I'm totally down to help anybody set up whatever I know. I'm always willing to teach, and likewise, I love learning when anybody's willing to teach me. So if you got comments, questions, if you're interested in being on the show, if you know someone who'd be good for the show, I believe I'm pretty much booked up until mid-May, which is awesome, but I would love to keep the lineup steady and going, and so I'm always looking for new, interesting, great new people to talk to. So just get a hold of me, lostguidancepodcast@gmail.com. Again, you can find me at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, going live on Twitch Sundays at 2 unless otherwise stated, usually on Facebook or something, and audio on SoundCloud. Again, people, if you aren't listening to SoundCloud, what are you doing? What do you mean? What do you mean? SoundCloud is like Spotify, but it's a little bit different. It's got its own listening platform. It's got various music. I mean, Spotify it's thebomb.com, don't get me wrong. And I'm working on getting on there, trust me. But Spotify is a great media platform. It's free. Log in with your Facebook account. Listen to whatever you want. Search for the Lost Guidance Podcast. You get the audio. You're able to shut your phone off and listen to it, or listen to it in the car. You don't have the video. You don't get the awesome, sweet videos. But it's easier when you're walking or running or whatever and you want to listen to something, because YouTube's hard. You can't shut it off, and I get that. So, again, keep the support coming. Keep your questions, comments, all that coming. I guess I should turn this up so you can see my name up there. Jesus, Zach. And, everyone, good looks out there. Y'all doing great. Keep that freaking chin high, darling. Okay? Okay, bud? Be happy. Be hardworking. Be motivated. And most of all, be yourself. And just do what you love to do. And until next time, I'm Zach Bonanza with the Lost Guidance Podcast, and I look forward to seeing, talking, hearing from all of you again. And listen, try not to get too lost out there. Okay? Shit.